This year, we grew this community from 1,000 of us to 800,000 of us. And as we near the end of the year, I wanted to share a special montage of some of the best and the most impactful bits from the most popular videos. Whether it's a quote from a book, a life-changing lesson from an expert in their field, or something that I've learned through a lot of trial and error, the next 7 clips include the principles and the ways of thinking that have had the most profound impact on my life. Enjoy. This is based on the book The Slight Edge, written by motivational speaker Jeff Oslin. And according to Jeff, success and failure are both a result of the slight edge. And that's the idea that simple little things that we choose to do or choose not to do on a daily basis have a compounding effect on who we ultimately become. So I like to use the penny compounding parable here. And that is that there are 2 people who are given the choice to either get $1 million at the beginning of next month. That's it. A flat, straight check of $1 million. Here you go. Or choose to receive 1 penny at the beginning of next month, but that penny doubles every single day for the next 30 days. The person who chooses to go with that flat $1 million mark got that $1 million, great. But the person who chose to go with the penny that doubled every single day ended up with $5.3 million. If you take this example and stretch it into a longer time frame, that is essentially how compounding in our life works. Those small little decisions that you make and small little things you choose to do or don't do every day matter because they have long-term ramifications and they will eventually show up. I now try to remind myself that whatever's uncomfortable now will become comfortable later. Just keep going and trust the process of compounding. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Our perception of how well we're doing is massively driven by society's expectations and comparisons. Massively, without a doubt. Society applauds lavish lifestyles, external rankings, monetary achievements. But if we rewire our thoughts to look at our own success through the eyes of us as an individual, as opposed to through the eyes of society, we can see ourselves from a completely different lens. And when you do this, it sets you free from comparison. It sets you free from expectations. It gives you the freedom from not having to play the game where other people are making the rules. Warren Buffett has talked about living by this inner scorecard. And when you do this, you avoid status games entirely. He says you should think about how you'd answer this question. Would you rather be the world's greatest lover, but have everyone think that you're the world's worst lover? Or would you rather be the world's worst lover, but have everyone else think that you're the world's best? In other words, would you rather be at the top of your ladder socially, even if you're not and you're a complete fraud? Or would you be at the bottom of your ladder socially, knowing deep down yourself that you're number one? A lot of us get tied up with this whole find your passion, find your purpose BS, and we put so much equity on it that we don't get started on anything until we have a clear view on what our passion or purpose is. But the truth is that very few people are successful from finding their passion on their first go and then making a living from it. It's so hard to do, and it takes months and years of trying other things first and seeing what sticks. Focus on learning skills that are practical. Focus on skills or businesses that are practical. All these things that you try may not be the thing that leads to where you want to be eventually, but it will definitely help you in getting there. It will put you further than just sitting and waiting for your passion and purpose to come to you before you get started. There's a quote that says, if you live every day like it's your last, someday you will most certainly be right. He said that this quote had a huge impact on him to the point where every morning he would look at himself in the mirror and ask himself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do today? And whenever the answer to that question was no, for too many days in a row, he knew it was time to change something. Remembering that we'll all be dead soon is one of the most important things we can do to make big choices in life and to overcome fear. Because almost everything, pride, fear of embarrassment, failure, external expectations, they fall away when death is at the face of you. And it only leaves what is important. If we truly understand this concept and we understand that our time is limited, it really gives you clarity to make meaningful choices that otherwise fear would have stopped you from making. If you think about it, right now, in this moment, this is the youngest you'll ever be in your entire life. And that completely blows my mind. When I started recording this video a couple of minutes ago, I'll never be that young again. When I started taking on this perspective, I knew that when I'm older, when I'm 18, assuming I live to 80, I'd be super disappointed with myself if I wasted the rest of my days trying to live someone else's path purely because I was scared or fearful of something. For me, this is the most powerful perspective to take when it comes to big decisions that I'm often scared to take. When it comes to major life decisions, everyone will offer their opinions, usually with the best of intentions and based on their own experience. But if you can find time for solitude and introspection, and you can stop letting other people's opinions dictate your choices, that's when things really start falling into place. This is one that requires the most willpower and discipline, but if you apply it, it will pay off. We are constantly surrounded by images of our friends going out all the time, going on their next big holiday, buying a new car, living their best life, and the constant pressure of these messages will make you feel that if you're not doing it, you're missing out. But if you constantly let yourself cave into these temporary moments, you may be sacrificing on what you could potentially make from the rest of your life. You'll be sacrificing time that you can spend instead on working on yourself or working on your side hustle. There is a quote in the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which states that the starting point of all achievements is desire. Weak desires bring weak results, just as a small fire makes a small amount of heat. Through this, he suggests that the intensity of our desires directly correlates with the results we get. Weak desires, weak results, whereas strong, burning desires can pave a way for stronger, bigger things in life. It's fine to cave in to living your best life every now and then, but what I find difficult to hear sometimes is when the no hustle culture is heavily promoted by people who are at the top of their game. Now that they've made it big, they can afford a team and delegate their work, and they can achieve that so-called balance. But they once had that strong burning desire and made sacrifices during their climb that they don't talk about as much. I've learned that the best way to not let FOMO get the best of you is to find a meaning in what you're doing and know that it's a part of a bigger picture that you're creating for yourself. And now every time I feel like FOMO is taking over and getting the best of me, I remind myself why I'm doing what I'm doing, and that the strong desire and all the small sacrifices that I make now will all be worth it. Action before overanalysis. This is one that's probably had the biggest impact on me. If there's one thing that was keeping me in the same place year after year after year, it was a tendency to overanalyze versus just doing the thing. Before starting this YouTube channel, I must have thought about doing it for a good 6 months while I was thinking about what my niche should be, what would people care about hearing from me, what should my thumbnails look like. It's great to think about that new project and think about investing for the future, but what's really going to make the difference 10 years from now is whether or not you actually did the thing. Even if it feels scary, at some point you become acutely aware that the result of not taking action will be far more painful than whatever may happen if you take action. Even if you don't have it all planned out, by virtue of just getting started, you're naturally going to be taking on feedback along the way. Just get going. You can always change the path if you need to based on the feedback you're getting. You'll learn and improve just by doing. Jeff Oslin in the book The Slight Edge says that the more you overthink preparing to start your goal, the more overwhelmed you will feel and the less likely you are to take the action. So keeping your thoughts about your plan simple helps you get out of your own head and into action more quickly. Just take the opportunity and you'll learn the most just by doing it. As long as you're doing what you want to do and you're not hurting anyone else in doing it, then don't spend a second focusing on what other people on the sidelines are saying. It has been totally worth it, in my opinion. I was looking for something I can do to have more of an impact on individuals whilst also being paid for it. And this has been just the thing that has married those two things up and has allowed me to do that. And it's a very satisfying feeling when I get a message from someone saying that they like my content and that's inspired them to do something. That one message alone outweighs everything. And that's probably the thing that has kept me going and kept me going for a year without seeing any results. So if you've been on the edge of starting something, just go for it. You won't look back. I wanted to take a moment to say thank you so much for joining me on this journey. When I started out, I never in a million years expected it to be what it is now. And there aren't enough words to express how humbled I am every single day that the content I put out resonates with so many of you and for the support that I get. Sometimes it just confuses me, but I never take your support for granted. So all I can say is thank you. If we ever cross paths in person, please stop me and say hi. I have a resting bitch face, also I'm told, but don't let that stop you. There's nothing I love more than actually meeting you in person and having a conversation. Thank you so much once again, and see you next week.